Hello everyone, this is Garrett and this is the demo of Project Giana, which is publicly available and in the description of this video. Now, normally I wouldn't actually do demos, but this is kind of an exception for me because I really like this game, and basically because it isn't funded yet. So I kind of figured I'd show off the demo a little bit, just show off the possible things you can do in the game, and kind of give people an idea what it is, so maybe people could be interested in it. So Giana Sisters was basically a game for the Commodore 64, which was pretty much just a regular platformer at the time. But Nintendo wasn't too happy about that and made them kind of sad by suing them, and everything became kind of a big mess. But then later, on the Nintendo DS, they released a game called Giana Sisters DS, which was also very similar to Mario, but they were okay with it apparently. But now we have this game, but they're still working on it. But this is the demo they have released recently, and I figured I would play around with it. So, well, you may have noticed I was jumping around and twirling around a little bit like this. I'm basically playing with an Xbox 360 gamepad because they pretty much recommend it. And if you press A, you can jump. With Y, you can twirl around, so you basically get an extra little jump. And it basically means you can spin around the air, which makes you float down slowly. Now, one of the major things that this game brings is that you can switch between this character and the so-called Punk Giana, which also makes the music quite a little bit different as well, and it makes the entire environment and everything basically entirely different, which is pretty cool. But we can only pick up these yellow gems as this Giana, so we shall float around, and these are red ones, so we have to switch around in midair to pick them up with this character. Now, this character also has a second ability, which is called Dash, which basically makes you fly around like some sort of fireball, which will basically kill just about everything. And that is a pretty good way of moving around as well, because, well, you move incredibly fast, and as the ability is called Dash, pretty much is intended to be moving fast with. And it can also be used to break these destructible rocks, which is pretty cool. And yeah, basically it's a pretty interesting platformer so far, and I'd love to see what they're gonna do with it. So, another interesting thing about the Dash ability is that you can bounce around these platforms. Normally you would only be able to basically go up, and then you wouldn't be able to go until you hit a wall or something like that. But you can also go like this, which is pretty cool. And you can also bounce off enemies with it, and if you do that, you will actually be able to use it a second time midair, which is pretty sweet. And that way you can reach some areas that would otherwise be unreachable. Now, as these signs kind of hint, that water is bad. Even as regular Giana, you will basically just see green water of death. The skulls will be a little bit more sad rather than these. These look a little bit more happy, I guess. But an interesting system here is that these elevators only go up when you're this one. So you're just gonna have to wait here. And you have to switch back when you want to make the elevators go down, which is pretty interesting. Another thing is these gems. So far, I think they don't really have any purpose because it's a demo. In the previous Giana Sisters game, they were basically used for extra lives, and this demo doesn't really have any live system. So I'm kind of curious what they're going to do with that, but it's, I don't really know right now. Now, one thing you may not notice is that these walls are a bit cracked, and you can basically fly up here with the Dash ability, which kind of leads you to a little secret area over here with this gigantic gem, which is worth 10 gems rather than 1. Which I wonder if they're going to keep like that, because it is quite huge. So I'm wondering if they're going to make it be 10 when the final game actually comes out. And then make our way down to just collect some extra stuff, and then make our way forward. Now, I really like the Dash ability in this game. It goes so fast, and one thing I'm not sure if it's intended is also one thing I should note is that these plants are only there when you play as Punk Giana, which is kind of interesting. But one thing I'm not sure if it's intended is that you can basically just mash the dash button and you'll go so incredibly fast. Like if I was over here and I would just go mash it like this, and you fly all over the place. This is kind of dangerous though, because when the ability runs out, you will just be able to get hit, and that would be kind of sad. So you do have to be kind of careful with it, but it is so much fun. Also, there's a gate here, which would only be here if you're a regular Giana, not Punk Giana. So, once again, switching around. And, yeah, it'll basically be a lot of switching around in this game. But there you go. It's pretty much what they had in mind when they made this game, that you switch between the two characters quite often. And I quite like the different enemy designs as well. Like, right now, when I'm just regular Giana, everything is basically kind of horrible. And actually, now that I think about it, I think if you pick up enough gems, it looks like you can basically get the same effect as when you pick up one of those balls. So you basically get an extra hit, like a mushroom or something like that. But I quite like that the enemy design, that it's basically a demon right now. And if you turn into Pug Giana, it's an owl, which is quite amazing. There is actually, in the description, I'll actually put a link to their blog as well to basically semi-development process and semi just kind of them fooling around, where they basically went on an adventure with one of their plush pill owls, as they're called, and that's basically what happens when you die, so that's kind of sad. But dying in the demo doesn't really matter too much, because you get, there's plenty of checkpoints in the level, so it should be fine. Just be a little bit careful that it doesn't happen too often, really. But yeah, that blog is pretty amazing. Also, this chest is basically what the checkpoint is. It's a different colored flag for the other Giana, but there you go. Now let's jump over here and collect these gems and make our way upwards. And that is actually the end of the first level. You can see a little castle over here and changes around. You can actually jump over it, but if you go here, it'll just be an endless puddle of death. So you basically don't really want to go there. But that's the end of the level. When we go through the castle, it'll send us to the next level. I'm guessing the level transition is probably going to be a little different in the actual product as well, because right now it just kind of ends. So yeah, kind of curious how that's going to be in the actual game. But the demo basically says when you download it that it's probably going to have some extra stuff in the end product. Now, that's a ghost. It'll try to kill you. It's kind of rude. But there's two different types of ghosts. One which will attack this one, and one which will attack Punk Giana. But you can kill them by kind of luring them into the lights here. And these ghosts are so adorable. I love them. But they have to die. I'm sorry. But let's make our way forward. The ghosts are actually quite annoying, as you'll later see, because they do follow you around quite a bit. And it's quite tricky to get rid of them. Now, those plants will actually damage you. The green smoke kind of gives it away. So basically be careful of that. And then turn back again to pick up the different gems. But you can also just jump past it if you're good at using dash, which I'm not exceptionally good at, I have to admit. But if you're pretty decent at it, you can do some pretty neat stuff with it. And one thing I should note is that the dash button is X and the twirl button is Y, and when you press it, you will instantly change into the character that will use those abilities, so that's kind of useful. Now, this was one of those balls I was talking about, which will basically give you an extra hit when you get damaged by it. And that way, when you get hit, you won't die immediately, which is kind of nice. The ghosts make a very eerie noise. They're kind of creepy, so definitely did a good job on them in making them kind of creepy, but at the same time making them absolutely adorable, because they look so cute. I mean, look at them. There's a little robe, all confused what to do, because, you know, and that one just looks even better because it's all round. But there you go. Let's continue on before I just talk about ghosts the entire time. Once again, switching between our different characters so we don't get hit by the plants. And let's go up here, making sure. There's actually two different types of plants as well. Like, there's these kind of bluish ones, which will only appear if you're a normal Giana. So sometimes you do actually have to switch to this character just for the sake of basically not dying. Fortunately, the blue gems you can just pick up with either character, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. Now over here, there's a little secret area as well, kind of. Just gotta be careful that you don't jump into the plants by accident, but I believe, is this... Yeah, okay, from here you could technically just jump over here if you'd want, but not really necessary, I guess. But as we move on, there's another checkpoint. I will grab these diamonds real quick. This water will still kill you in one hit, so definitely be careful of that. Oh, I messed it up. Now, normally, I think the best way of doing this is basically by just using the twirl, because for one, there's gems here, and secondly, you will float for a little longer, and it's just a little bit safer, really. Now, there is some extra stuff over here. Now, be careful that you don't switch immediately, because you can see the green smoke, so I would get hit if I would switch now. So jump and then switch, otherwise you will just die, and it's kind of sad. But make our way over there. Be careful of the breaking platform, because it is quite breakable indeed, and you don't really want to stand on a breaking platform above a bunch of water that will instantly kill you. So, make your way over here, and we shall jump as Giana over here. And you can see another blue gem, but we can't quite reach it right now, but we'll get back to that. Pick up this so we can take another extra hit, which is always nice. and jump up here. Now this is kind of an interesting dash jump because you need to do it in a fairly specific way, but if you do it right, then you'll end up on this platform. And you can already see some more green plants which will try to kill me, but I'm not really into that, so just gonna quickly change character there to get that, and then fly all the way to the left. The yellow diamond kind of gives away that you have to fly to the left here, and the fact that we've seen this gem over here as well. And that way we can easily make it to the second large gem, or third, I'm not entirely sure anymore. But there definitely were quite a few so far. Now, there is this fish over here. We cannot kill this fish. But if we're normal, or Punk Giana rather, then that fish will not actually jump up and down, which is quite nice. It seems to be a turtle, actually, when you're Punk Giana. It just kind of sits there. But one of the things we need to do is kind of hit this enemy, so with a dash, so we can dash again. And that way we can make it on this higher platform over here. Grab the extra gems over there. And that seems to be pretty much all we can do over here. So now we've done that, we can just jump up here with our lovely dash ability. I really love that ability so much. I really hope they put that in more games than just this, because it just makes you go so fast. I like it. I like it quite a lot. Now, there's two areas where we can go here. The arrow is kind of pointing to the top right, but I don't really want to go to the top right just yet. Also, I should note that if you die after you picked up one of the save points, or one of the checkpoints rather, then you will still keep all the gems that you collected up to that point. So that's kind of nice, because otherwise you'd have to collect it all again. That would be kind of a hassle, I guess. Now, this area can be somewhat of a bother, and you'll see the reason why in now, basically. Quite a lot of water, but we can get around that quite easily if we do our best, but we're gonna have to be quick if we want to get all of the gems. So... oh dear. Oh, and that's when you screwed up. But that's okay, because we collected all the gems over there, so that's good. Now, normally you would jump over here, and if you do that, you won't actually die, which is kind of nice. It's definitely the better way of doing it, I would say. But sometimes things happen, and, well, whatever. It's a demo, and there's no lives, so we're just gonna have fun. But climbing our way up, get these extra gems over here before we go back down again with the purple or green wah-wah. Just getting these, and make our way upstairs, where, once again, we will find another blue gem, and something we haven't seen before, the spinning gems, which you can basically just stand here and grab a whole bunch of extra gems, which is quite nice. And quite hidden, kinda. It is kinda hard to see the yellow gems when you're not actually normal Giana, which is kind of sad, but whatever. If you look closely, you can still see them. And this is what I mean with the dash ability being ridiculous. When it's on a flat terrain, you just move so incredibly quickly. Not sure if that's intended, but we'll see when the product comes out, if it comes out, and I really hope it does, actually. Because I really quite enjoy what they have released so far in terms of a demo. And this is kind of interesting as well. There's like a red glow over there, so if we switch, we can see that there's a whole bunch of red gems inside the plant, but they go out the moment you switch character, which is quite good. But now we've done that, we will make our way over here. Just gonna stand on these platforms and slowly but surely get all those gems. You can do it a little bit quicker, I guess, if you're good at jumping. Also, another thing I should probably note is that when you're in mid-air and you haven't jumped yet, you can still do an extra jump, which is kind of strange. You don't really see that in any platformer. It is kind of similar to what Donkey Kong does, like Donkey Kong Country, that you can jump in mid-air. But even in Donkey Kong, it's quite different because you'd have to roll first, and that's not really a mechanic in this game, so there you go. Anyway, just gonna twirl to the left here, and there's a weird block over here, and it kind of tells you what you have to do, that you have to dash into it according to the sign. So basically just hold up and dash, and just keep holding the dash button, and this is where the ghosts become kind of annoying. And this is where you can actually kind of mess around with it a little bit. If you switch quickly enough, they won't actually move at all, pretty much, so you're pretty safe when you just do that. But fortunately, these things will just kill them. And then we can just make our way back up again. I don't think you can go... no, you can't go down through the platforms, but you can go up through them, which is quite nifty. It means you can't just skip parts very easily, so that's kind of cool. And just gonna make our way up here, grab all these gems, and make our way back up again. Now, we're almost reaching the end of the demo here, so... yeah, we'll basically just go continue on. One interesting thing here as well is that if you switch, the little platforms will move in the opposite direction, which is kind of neat. But to be fair, I think you'll mostly just play as Punk Giana when you're playing this game, because dash. Really, it's just a lot safer in a way when dealing with enemies. Now this area is probably one of the harder parts of the demo because you kind of have to like think and stuff, and that will happen if you don't think hard enough. But basically the platforms go up out of the water when you're normal Giana and down when you're Punk, so you kind of have to switch around between them quite carefully because you have to make sure not to get hit by the water, but you also have to make sure not to get hit by the spikes at the top there. So fly over there. We missed a gem, but that's okay because we can just get it like that. And that almost reaches the end of our demo because there's actually a little bit more if we do this kind of tricky jump. Let me just try it a few times. There we go. And jump up over here. And there's another like quite large gem here as well. And I think that's basically all of the big gems that you can get in the demo right now, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, just gonna jump on this guy because we don't kill enough enemies with tiny Giana, or regular Giana, I guess. And we make our way to the exit, where it'll say, spread the word, make it happen, back us on Kickstarter. And there is actually a link to that Kickstarter, as I mentioned at the start of this video. And yeah, I basically hope you enjoyed it, and maybe consider getting the demo as well to see if it's any good. Maybe join their little forum as well. And yeah, basically, it looks like they do have some extra mechanics, but judging on these screenshots, there seems to be a few things that were in Giana Sisters DS, like you can float around in a bubble, so that's kind of interesting. So I personally would love to see this game actually exist at one day, so there you go. Basically, click on the links in the description, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I also have a link to a little speedrun race me and Sectus did at this demo, and that will also be in the description. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.